All right, all right, all right. Here we go back again on the other side of the coin. I've got my man, the bad boy, some people might call it in the Chelsea community, Alexis Kavkas. But look, at the end of the day, I honestly respect his views. Some people sometimes take it a little bit negatively. He does cop a bit of abuse, which isn't right. And I hope that today, after this session that we're going to have and the conversations we're going to have, that people will go away and try and understand some concept that Alexis is trying to provide here, and treat him as a fan that's one of us and he's just concerned. So let's talk about some topic. But before we get into all of that, Alexis, my man, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. It's nice to talk to you. It's nice to be on your channel. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's been a while, so bring it on.
Brilliant, man. For all of you guys that may not know, Alexis has got an amazing YouTube channel. I've actually subscribed a long time back, but for some reason in between, just never got to see it. But in recent times, started to watch his videos more often. And honestly, he's got a lot of logic behind some of his, takes on many different matters on football, not just Chelsea football. He talks about other clubs and international as well. So, guys, I'll have all his description about his YouTube channel, all his information of the YouTube channel in the description. So please subscribe to his channel. He's doing really well over there. So let's get straight into it. First of all, Alexis, what I want to talk to you about is, in recent times, as you know, we've had the back-to-back losses, and it's given a bit of a reality check to certain fans, myself as well. There's a lot of fans out there, who went from saying that, oh, we're title contenders and we're doing so well, all of a sudden sort of thinking, perhaps we're not as good as we kind of thought we were. I was one of them, one of those fools thinking that we're going to, be in the mix of things. But the question that I have for you, Alexis, is this 17-match unbeaten run that we had, was that really as great as we thought it was, or was it a bit of a false hope?
For me personally, I don't think you're a fool for thinking we were title contenders. I think Liverpool were stagnating. Tottenham were boring their way 2 wins. You had Manchester City being Manchester City, where they're one step away from clicking and being fantastic. So I think whilst we were on a 17-match win rate, why shouldn't we get excited? We're fans at the end of the day. This is what I tell people. We watch football for enjoyment, but we have this disease called we love this club. So when we love something, we get blinded by it, and it's perfectly acceptable. We're meant to get excited. If you weren't, I'd say, oh, but you have to keep an element of realism. And I think that's so important when you are a fan, because if you don't, you're one step away from being an Arsenal fan, and no one likes it. Let's be honest with you. But to answer your question, I think we did get a little bit carried away. And I think part of the area where we got carried away was with the manager. I think people were using that 17-match unbeaten run as a way to propel him to the top level. Yeah. I even tweeted, I was like, you know what, guys, congratulations. He's went from an intern to a graduate now. Great little pay rise. Because realistically speaking, he is a graduate. 3 years in a row. And
if we're being honest, that's what it is. Yeah.
And I don't think it's harsh for me to say that, because if you're learning to develop in a role, I don't expect you to be the CEO in 3 years.
Yeah.
And Chelsea is a club where we're a FTSE 100. Like, let's not talk rubbish about it. We're a top end club. Yeah. You need a proper man in charge. So to say that we were naive, say that we were in a title race, I don't think we were. I think the squad is amazing, and I think we'll get onto the squad and we'll get onto the players, but I don't think we were naive.
Now it's interesting that you've said that, right? I sort of feel the same way as well, that, when you love something and love is blind and you get blinded by it. But here's the reality check, Alexis. Now, we as a fan base spent so much time slandering a manager like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, yet is now, we all do, man, we all do. Yet he now stands, I think, few spots above us, with a game in hand. And, it's going back to the point that you said that, and this is not a slander. I want people to understand this, that this is not a slander towards Frank Frank, at the end of the day, as you said, Alexis, is a graduate. He's learning on the job. So, how do you feel knowing that a particular coach that we've constantly slandered stands above us?
You wanted a hot take, you're going to get one. I honestly believe the difference between Oli, Arteta, and Lampard is their squads.
Yeah.
So I think it's the quality of their squads. Realistically speaking, you put any one of them in each one of their roles, they'll be performing at the same level. And that's because Oli is not a new manager, but he's almost new to our eyes and new to the top level. Arteta's learning on the job. It's been 12 months. And Lampard's 3 years in. But I feel we shouldn't have a manager of this caliber. And I think it falls down to the board. I think it falls down to the board trying to appease the fans after the whole Sarri incident, which I understand. Don't get me wrong. There is a whole feel-good factor. You see, I can't be constructive. There's a whole feel-good factor around the club again. Yeah. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm in the business of winning trophies and getting results.
Yeah.
And if Frank Lampard doesn't get me top 4 at the end of the year, the fact that I'm saying top 4 is disgusting for me. It makes me want to puke. It actually makes me. I want to win trophies. We spent 250 million.
Because, this becomes a disease, that top four. Before you even realize, all we ever expect is top 4. Do you know what I mean? Like, that becomes a standard.
I said it yesterday on the podcast I was on, and I said, we are 2-3 years away from being Arsenal with Fabregas, Nasri, Adebayor. And the problem there was, they're on a journey, they're in a process. We're so close. All of a sudden, boom, 1-2 pieces go. You're replacing those pieces. You're chasing it. You don't have the money.
Constantly changing.
And you're on a little cycle. You're like the 76ers in basketball. You're just literally chasing to become relevant again. And it's just a joke.
No, absolutely, man. I want to now tie this into, a lot of people, I've just recently, my brother just came in, my younger brother came in just not that long ago to my place. And I was telling him that I'm having a conversation with you today. And, I was going to bring in the topic. A lot of people that will always tell you, Alexis, and you've heard this many times as well, that, but look at Liverpool. Look at Klopp. They gave them time. He got time. And look at him now. He's winning. He's doing this. He's doing. And I told that to my brother. And straight away, what my brother said? He goes, Jurgen Klopp had managed many clubs before. There's a difference here. Like, yes, he got the time. And once again, guys, I hope you understand the crux of it. This is not a slander towards Frank Lampard. But to compare him with Jurgen Klopp I don't think that's a good enough comparison here, because Klopp managed Dortmund and actually won stuff. And my brother, he watches a lot of German football. Klopp, actually, I didn't even know this. He used to manage Mainz before Dortmund, and he was doing good there as well. So he came into Liverpool not as a graduate or as an intern that you say. He came in as someone, I better effing get some respect around here because I'm Jurgen Klopp. So what's your thoughts around this particular scenario where people tell you, but Alexis, Jurgen Klopp got time. Give Frank some time.
My argument there is, you want time to be given to a manager? Let me give you some names. Nagelsmann, who's developed Leipzig to the point where they get to semi-finals of Champions League, playing an attractive style of football. They're very versatile in the game, but yet you can see a project being built. Look at Pochettino. People tell me Pochettino, he hasn't won nothing. Let me tell you what Pochettino's CV. Pochettino Espanyol made them relevant to the point where Southampton, a Premier League side, offered him a role. Came to Southampton, rejuvenated the club, made them even better, gave them some of the best youngsters that they've seen in a long, long time. I think it was a top half finish. Went to Spurs, made Spurs relevant to the point where we had to interfere to stop them from winning the league. Exactly. I don't like saying that. And that's all because of Pochettino and the development of Harry Kane and the development of Dele Alli. And now Poch is gone.
Spurs got Jose Mourinho, I believe, because of Pochettino bringing them up. Okay. Or else I don't think Jose ever goes to a club like that.
No, and I 100% agree with you. Like I say, you don't give the keys to your Ferrari to your child. And Frank Lampard is Roman's child. Don't give him the keys to your Ferrari, because this is too important. We all care about this club too much for me to sit around and have people say, it's okay, it's part of the process. Let's draw 1-0 with West Ham. oh, we kept a clean sheet against Sevilla, but they dominated us off the park like we're some rookies.
Yeah. And you know what? That's probably the only match, I'm trying to look back at the 17 match unbeaten run, because obviously we were in such euphoria. And I look back and I think that 4-0 against Sevilla was probably the standout one. But let's be honest, Sevilla rotated as well in that particular match. And once again, I'm not taking anything away from Chelsea. That was a fantastic performance. Fair enough. But, you know, you then come off the back of that, and we heavily rotated against Krasnodar when we faced Everton. So there shouldn't be any talk about fatigue or anything like that moving into the Everton game, because we literally, everyone was on the bench. Do you know what I mean? So,
can I tell you what sums up Frank Lampard? He rests everyone and then brings Timo Werner on at the end, which I never understand.
Yeah, that never made sense against Krasnodar.
You know what? We're most probably going to go on to this, but his game management, squad management is borderline pathetic, in my opinion, when it comes to his...
Let's talk about this, because this is the other thing that I wanted to talk about, the in-game management and his tactical awareness. And Alexis, honestly, in this season and last season, forget last season. I think a lot of people will tell you last season was just, you know, we had the transfer ban, this, that. So let's not talk about too much about last season. Obviously, Frank did really well with the youth team and took us to 4th. Fantastic. But this season so far already, Alexis, as much as, and we'll talk about the positives of Frank as well, but in talking about some of the negatives, honestly, man, I've not seen too much of his in-game management, you know, quality. When things are going a bit down, he sort of drifts with the flow. His subs, to me, I don't know if they're very impactful. Yeah, talk to me about your thoughts about his in-game management, man.
So I'm going to have to take you back a little bit to when we hired Frank Lampard. Most people know I was really behind Maurizio Sarri's process, in the sense that I saw what he was building. I saw his body of work at Empoli. I went back and looked over it. Very interesting. I recommend people go and do it. And Napoli. Okay. When we hired Frank, I said, okay, look, Frank's a legend. If anything, he deserves, as the player, to get my support until I see something's wrong. And I'm not 100% convinced on this appointment, so I'm not going to be blinded. And I think it was the Leicester game, the first game of the season. We dropped points where we came out like a steam train, and then Rodgers schooled him in the second half to the point where we got away with it. So I said, you know what? It's the first game of the second game of the season, because we lost one game. Yeah. It's like, that's fine. And then Wilder did it to him in a 2-2, where Frank...
When we were leading 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0 lead. He brings on Billy Gilmore, doesn't sheer up the midfield, and then Wilder does it. And I'm like, hold on, this is a pattern now. And I work in statistics. I can tell when there's a trend being formed. And this was a trend, and this continued. And now the same problems this year are recurring. For example, let's take the Everton game. No, the Wolves game. The game was screaming out for Kovacic at 50 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't play.
Kai Havertz was dead. Kai Havertz was dead in that game.
And I don't blame him. He has COVID. Like, look at what happened to Paul Pogba. Pogba is a world-class talent that came back and said he couldn't run. Paul Pogba is known, right, for being, one, lazy, but being able to get around the pitch when he wants to.
Yeah.
I don't think Pogba wants to be exhausted and say he can't feed his lungs. Like, I think it's so important that Frank Lampard improves his in-game management. His subs are late. I always feel like we come out worse in the second half for some reason, and I don't understand why. Whether it's aesthetically, and more importantly, we're a 30-minute side. And I'll explain. We're 15 minutes good in the first half, then we go into a good 15-minute, half an hour lull, where it's a 50-50 game. We are 15 minutes good in the second half, and then it's somewhere 30 minutes of bad. And I think it's down to the manager. I'm not saying dominate all 45 minutes, but you need to dominate at least half of a half.
Yeah, like at least control the game. That Wolves game, Alexis, we were winning 1-0. And then from there, everything turned inside out for us. And it looked like if the game continued on, Wolves were just pumping more goals after goals. And I was baffled after that what happened? And then the subs, I think about the subs, I go, Giroud was taken off to bring in Tammy. And I'm like, what are we doing there? Like, that game was, for me, was screaming out Billy Gilmore, or perhaps, as you said, Kovacic much earlier, but he came on anyway. But then I thought, because it was so end-to-end, why take Giroud off, take someone else off, and bring in Billy to control the game a little bit?
I don't understand the obsession with Tammy Abraham, because I'm sorry, Tammy Abraham is a good player, but Tammy Abraham is West Ham caliber at best. And for me, that's the fact of the matter. He's a third choice striker at Chelsea. And don't get me wrong, Giroud is not starting caliber for Chelsea either.
You know what? Just to interject here, Alexis, sorry about that, man. Dan McCarthy, the guy who talks a lot about, he's got some intel. I brought him in. He said the same thing about Tammy Abraham. He goes, look, let's be honest. If we take the passion and all of that aside, Tammy is not a long-term Chelsea striker. And he even said it, and a lot of people say it in the timeline now as well, that Giroud is not a long-term
striker. He's not. But you know what Giroud is? Giroud is a perfect backup striker in the sense where you want to change your style. The game against Wolves, I don't think it's a coincidence. It became, it played into Wolves' hands when Tammy came on. Because Giroud, it took Giroud until 28, 29 to learn how to hold the ball up using his body. Oh my God, I'm actually a big man. Like, I can hold the ball up. I don't think we have time to wait for Tammy to develop. I don't feel. And it will cost us points, it will cost us titles, and it will cost us key games, and it will cost me my hair. And I don't want that. I'm telling you, I'm a hairy person. Like,
we can see.
Yeah, like, I got curls for days. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. But all jokes aside, like, I think there needs to be an improvement for Frank, and I will give him credit where credit is due. He has given opportunity, but he doesn't run no meritocracy. As much of a meritocracy as any prime minister runs, allegedly. Okay, there is favoritism in every line of work, and this is no other. Let's not beat around the bush. Look at the treatment of Hudson-Odoi. Look at the treatment of Fikayo Tomori. Look at the treatment of Emerson.
Tell me more about the Callum Hudson-Odoi one, because you're quite passionate about this, because and I started to believe it in it. You know me, man. Every now and then, that whenever I see you say something that I disagree, I'll tell you, oh man, Alexis, I don't know, man, if this is true. But then I started to see that Callum Hudson-Odoi, he played so well against Rennes. He played so well against, I can't remember, there was another team, and he just didn't get the starts. And tell us about this, because you're big on this one.
I think the treatment of Callum Hudson-Odoi has been borderline preposterous, and I'll explain why. Callum Hudson-Odoi is a young talent that came through our youth academy, and I tweeted this yesterday. What is the difference between Phil Foden and Jadon Sancho to Mason Mount and Callum Hudson-Odoi? Well, firstly, we own the two, and people act like the other two are absolute world beaters. Well, Phil Foden is not starting ahead of Mason Mount at England level, and he's not starting for Manchester City. That's facts. Now we're going to compare the two wingers, Hudson-Odoi and Sancho. Sancho got an opportunity and took it with both hands. And Sancho hasn't scored a goal in the Bundesliga this year, but yet starts every week. Hudson-Odoi comes on against West Brom, gets a goal, doesn't get a start. Hudson-Odoi
gets a really good goal against Rennes, that long ball from Mason.
Comes on against Rennes, good performance, doesn't get a start, left out the squad, which I think is a slap in the face, because we are not stupid as fans, and he is not stupid as a human being, in the sense that he knows it's a dead rubber game against Krasnodar. Don't you dare drop him to say, oh, you're going to play in dead rubber game. Callum, don't worry. We'll play Christian Pulisic. Look, is Callum good enough to start for Chelsea now? No. But Callum is better than Mason Mount on the wing. Callum is better than Kai Havertz on the wing, because it brings us a different element. It brings us a different style. It gives us a different alternative. And more importantly, what are you doing to this man's confidence when we have 3 games in 7 days, Christian Pulisic's hamstring made out of glass, Hakim Ziyech's knee? I don't know what's going on. Why did they sign an injury-prone player when we already have 2 injury-prone wingers? Yet, Callum doesn't get no game time. They get broken down, and Callum still gets overlooked. There is no meritocracy. This is borderline, I just don't like you. That's the way I see it.
And the crazy part is, obviously, he's been injured in recent times, so obviously he's not going to play. But we're obviously talking about the time just before his injury, and there were several instances where he's been left out of the squad where I feel like maybe some other person could have been left out and he could have still been included into the team. And, you could see that certain players that weren't possibly in the top, Timo Werner, for example, right? He's been out of form. Let's be honest now, Alexis, and you're big on this one as well. You said it like literally a month ago.
A month and a half ago. I said it and I got abused. When I tell you guys go read it, it's hilarious.
You got hammered. But you know what? Everyone is saying it now. Everyone is talking about his first touch. But this first touch, Alexis, didn't happen over the last 2 games. It was there. It was there for the past 7-8 games where he hasn't been scoring for the last 8 games, but he still kept on playing and playing and playing. And you start wondering that perhaps Callum Hudson-Odoi could have done a bit of a job in the wing in those moments where Timo was probably needing a bit of break.
We're not a creative side from midfield. I don't think Havertz is the type of player where he dictates play and creates stuff. He gets on the end of things and comes alive, right? Rihanna says in the nighttime, right? He's in the right place. He comes alive. Mason Mount, people want him to be some regista. And in my opinion, whilst he's a very good player, people exaggerate how much he controls games because it's the Rooney thing. You go into the semicircle of someone else's half, you fling a 30-yard pass, you get a little applause, like a nice round of applause, everyone gets carried away. But realistically speaking, how impactful is it? Our most creative player is Ziyech. After that, it's Hudson because Pulisic is a very good player at taking people on and making things happen in that way. But when it comes to vision, when it comes to technical awareness,
it's not him.
It's not him. And Hudson, there was a pass this year that he did, I think, to Ben Chilwell. We were balling out against Palace. He picks the ball up inside the box with players around him, and he just chips it over the whole back line to Ben, and Ben's touch runs away from him. But the pass was Messi-esque. If anyone hasn't seen it, I'll find it and I'll post it.
You'll notice Callum Hudson-Odoi last season as well, man, when he came back from the injury, there was some assist he was producing for Willian when Willian was going through that run and he was scoring. We can see, and a lot of people have said this, Alexis, that Callum is probably more of a visionary player, an assister, as opposed to a goal-scoring winger. I think he's more of an assisting kind of winger.
He's a creative.
I
agree with you. And you know what? Let's be honest. A lot of our fan base is defending Frank over this. The same people were destroying Sarri for not playing it. And I find that very funny because there's always an argument that Frank Lampard's developing youth. I don't think developing is throwing them into the deep end and saying sink or swim. I think development is what Sarri was doing under Hudson-Odoi and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Sarri took Ruben and told him, listen, you don't know how to play centre midfield. I'm going to teach you how to play centre midfield. And come April, both of them were starters and they knew their roles. They had an education in football. But then Achilles hit and all of a sudden history gets rewritten. And I think...
Let's be honest, Alexis, I was going to tweet out the other day, Ruben Loftus-Cheek under Sarri was probably one of the most phenomenal midfielders. I'll get goosebumps when I talk about this. That Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Alexis, for me was probably one of the best midfielders I've ever seen, man, at that point, because he was robust. He was linking up with Hazard. He was scoring goals. He was assisting. After Hazard, he was the man. Ruben Loftus-Cheek was the man. And that same Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he got injured, but then he came back. He got some chances under Frank, but he never looked the same anymore. And I know people will say that's an injury, but he's still struggling a little bit with Fulham as well.
But Miz, I would hold back on that opinion just yet for me to commit and rule out Ruben, because my argument with Ruben is the injury he had is a big one. And he's got a big body. Like, he is a massive lad, massive. So I think having faith in your Achilles, again, Callum just spoke about having like a lack of faith in his Achilles, like the muscle's not fully recovered yet. And look how long it's been. And with Ruben now, I've been watching him recently for Fulham, because whenever our players go on loan, if I can watch a game, especially Premier League football, I love to watch it, because I'm a football fan before I'm a Chelsea fan. And I think people are going to bite me for that. Well, I loved football a lot longer before I came to England and started supporting Chelsea when I was 7 years old. Ruben's been slowly getting back. There was a game, not this game, the game before, where he had a very good impact. He was getting into the half terms. He was gliding past players. And I think this is good for him to play. And I'm really happy Fulham are starting to look like a decent team because he's getting more and more minutes. So I wouldn't rule him out just yet, but I agree with you. He was a phenomenon. Like, he reminded me of Marin Hamsik for Napoli. Like, he was getting into the box. He was linking up play. He was coming back and defending. I'm not saying he was defending like he's prime Makelele, but I'm saying he was in the right positions. And
he understood the role. He understood the role.
Bro, I always say this, and people laugh at me. Why did Pep make Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, and Fernandinho work? They say, sorry about this. They say Fernandinho done all the running. No. His tactics were set up to the point where all De Bruyne and Silva had to do were be in the right square, the right area of the pitch, organize yourself, have the body angle right.
Yeah.
Then you just intercept. You don't even have to tackle, you just intercept.
Yeah. It makes it look like you're running, but you're really just so good with your movement that, you know, you're able to intercept. It just looks like, oh man, that guy's running a lot, but it's not really.
Stupid people run for the sake of running. Smart people get in the right position, close up the lanes, and wait for a trigger. Like, that's what the top... I think Mascherano said that on BN Sports once. He was with Phil Neville, and Phil Neville was saying how, oh, this is a very good press from Chelsea. And he's like, really? Like, that's a good press? That's what you call a good press in England? And that sums it... Like, it really sums it up.
He probably saw the pressing in Barcelona.
Yeah. He was like, you have to wait for a trigger. You need to have an organized press waiting for a certain man that you allocated in advance to get it. Yeah. Then you go. And
you see Liverpool with what they do with Firmino. Firmino is the one who starts everything. People think, oh, Firmino is just worthless. He's nothing, you know, he doesn't do... Man, you take Firmino away from that team, I'm telling you, they're not operating the same way that they're doing now.
You put Firmino in our team, I think we're in a different level. I genuinely think Firmino is that good. But the thing is, whilst Firmino is good, let's not take away Jurgen Klopp's system. I think systems,
For sure. Let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about the systems now, because I know you're big on this as well with Frank and the system. In recent times, Alexis, I've seen without Ziyech is back to let's bomb it towards Reece James or Chilwell and let's bomb the crosses. And I'm like, dude, you've got a lot of talent in your team to utilize to play through the middle and break through the middle. We saw Mason Mount post the lockdown last season, and he was doing line-breaking passes through the middle. And all of a sudden now Mason, as soon as he gets the ball, go to Mason or go to Reece James or go to Chilwell. What's going on with our style?
We don't have one. We really don't have one. There's no... I got criticized for this greatly. When I said this, I said it's make it up in the final third. Let's get the ball to the wing and let's make it up in the final third. You literally, and there's no triangles. There's no passing lanes. There's no movement off the ball. The only movement off the ball that we have and only great relationship is Ziyech and Reece James. And it's getting to the point where Reece looks like he's out now. So I don't want to see Aspi. I don't want to see Aspi play. I'm not going to lie to you. Aspi's past it now. And like, for me, the style of play, the patterns, it's very... The players don't know what they're doing, in my opinion, apart from Mount gets it and he switches it. Havertz gets it and he, across the floor, curls it across to Ben Chilwell, and then Ben Chilwell tries to regurgitate it and we go again, comes back to Mount. I think part of the reason is having Kante in the DM role is integral. But I think it's forced. It's shoehorned. Yeah. And big teams, once again, we're an elite club. Big teams don't play like that. Let's take Bayern Munich's team from last year. They had Thiago in that midfield with Goretzka and Müller. Yeah. All three can create, and not one of them is meant to be a defensive master striker. Yeah. But every single one of them gets into the right positions, they're well coached, and they build the play up properly. I love N'Golo.
Let's even talk about Man City, Alexis. If people don't watch Bayern Munich, people don't understand how good Fernandinho is in passing in that DM role.
Underrated. underrated passer. I think people look at him and go, "Oh, he's a runner, he's a great athlete, he's a monster." He's an underrated passer. He was doing it since Shakhtar Donetsk. Like, maybe I come across as a little nerd, but I love Champions League football. And we had some good games with Shakhtar Donetsk. And you get to see these players and you go, okay, he's got something about him. And for me, I think Kante's best role is to the right side of the three. So he's a box-to-box. I'm going to get killed. Jorginho needs to play. I don't think it's a coincidence since Jorginho's come out of our team, our results have gone down the toilet. And part of the reason is I think when Jorginho plays, there's almost a tempo and a leader on the pitch to allocate stuff, play balls through, chip that little, that little ball that he does when the defense is not looking. It's like,
first time hit.
It's I call it the slicer. He slices it in nicely. The element of having that there. Look, Jorginho is not perfect. He has his deficiencies. But you put Thiago in that role and Cantara, he's going to have his deficiencies. It's the yin and yang. What do you want? Do you want a Declan Rice who's going to sit there and make you boring and make you, okay, well, a little bit defensively solid, but you're not going to score as many goals? Or do you want someone creating, someone being interactive, proactive? And
absolutely, man. I think that, look, someone over here is saying, "I'll stop waffling about Kante." I just want to say, we're not waffling about Kante here. We've identified that Kante is a fantastic defensive player, but let's be honest, he's not a distributor. Ziyech is a distributor. That's why we got Ziyech this season, so that we can distribute where he can drop deep and distribute those balls away. Kante is not going to distribute, and that's what Alexis is saying, is that Jorginho does that. But we also understand Jorginho's downfall, which is when it's in defensive transition, he gets caught out. He's not physically quick enough.
By the way, my friend, that you say I'm waffling, let me just explain to you one thing. I'm not saying drop N'Golo Kante. N'Golo Kante is the best player we have at the club. He's the one of the only world-class players I have. I'm asking him to play in his position. I don't think that's too much to ask for. And can he do a job at centre defensive midfield? Yes, he can do a job. But if you have an elite level talent, play him in his right role. You build a team around him. You don't shoehorn him in just so you can have him in the team. Or this was unpopular. I said this in the summer. I hoped it didn't happen, but if Frank was so sure about Declan Rice being the missing piece with the 2-8, sell Kante and use the money to get Declan Rice. If the club is buying into Frank Lampard for the long haul, do it.
And there was a lot of teams that were after Kante. PSG, Real Madrid, a lot of people.
70 million minimum you're getting for Kante. Marina haggling 100 million. Like, it's ridiculous.
Absolutely. I think what we need to realize, that in the last two games specifically, if we just focus on that, Kante being in that lone DM role, fantastic. Yeah, fine. Defensively, we look good, but it's that distribution that doesn't come from him in that, and that's why I think Frank is forced to just go wide, because he thinks that, well, Kante's not providing me those passes through the middle, the line breaking passes, and Kai Havertz is so out of form. He's not dropping deep to do that either. That's why he's gone, towards the flanks. Alexis, let's talk about this other thing now. Before we want to talk about some positives as well, right?
100%.
Frank Lampard, let's just wrap up some of the negatives and then move to the positive. He's obviously someone, he's a great influencer. Obviously, we've got players like Timo Werner, Kai Havertz. You'll see many of the players come out publicly, and they do that anyway. But they've said it many times, like, the phone call from Frank changed it, and this and that, and I want to play for Frank. But a manager, I feel like someone like Frank, right? Yes, he's a great influencer. A lot of players like Eden Hazard wanted to play for Zinedine Zidane. I think a lot of the upcoming players probably look up to Frank and think he was a fantastic player. I want to play for him. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was such a great midfielder. But there comes a point, Alexis, that if you don't have that tactical nous like of Pep or Jurgen Klopp, that your influence will only be up. It has a limitation. You'll be shoehorned as a top four, as opposed to someone who constantly wins the Premier League or someone who constantly wins the Champions League. Do you believe that as well, that particular trait has a limitation, but if you're tactically aware and smart, that has no limitation?
That's the pro of having Frank Lampard. He gets to attract players because they grew up on him. They grew up with the idea of Frank Lampard being one of the best midfielders in the world. And that's not an exaggeration to say. Player Frank is one of my favorites. One of my favorite.
My favorite as well, man. Favorite Chelsea player.
For me, it's my top 5. Like, I loved him when I was growing up. The amount of happy moments he gave me was going to school the next day, laughing at my friends. It was perfect. But I think people need to step back aside and just imagine if this was Maurizio Sarri giving us performances like this after 250 million, how would you react? I think it can't be Frank Lampard.
They were Maurizio out without the 250 million.
Yeah, like honestly, like it needs to be where you need to be realistic. You need to have, in my opinion, an objective view. Manager X, not manager Frank Lampard. And I'm sorry, but I think this is as far as he took us. I think he was the perfect manager for the transition. This transition over, time to win trophies and get someone in who will either get us really close and competing, challenging, or I don't know what we're becoming, because if we don't beat West Ham, we're 11th. Let that sink in. Let that sink in.
It's true, man. We said that we'll touch.
I've got one question for you. Before we get on to positives, and I want to talk about positives. Ben Chilwell. Can I use this platform to tell people about why I personally think Ben Chilwell, whilst a good player, is arguably a waste of money from the club? Because Ben Chilwell, when we were looking at him, I was saying the fee is too big. And the reason I said the fee is too big is because I saw Tagliafico, who is a decent left-back available. I saw Sergio Reguilon, who's a decent left-back available for 19 million. And the club opted for Ben Chilwell. So if I'm going to pay double the money for something, I want to see Reece James caliber performances.
Yeah.
And for me, sadly, Ben Chilwell doesn't do that. For me, Ben Chilwell, whilst he looks neat with his control, he's not aggressive enough. He doesn't accept responsibility. He's very quick to pass it back. His crossing is average. And
some of his crosses recent times, I know he got that assist for Giroud, but
average.
In the last few games, I don't think his distribution, and he's been giving away the balls as well. There was a stat off the back of the Wolves game. He was the highest number of possession given away. 30, that was the highest ever for a Chelsea in a particular game.
And for me, it's worrying because you spend 45, 50 million on a left back, right? And he's not better than Reece James. And for me, whilst Reece James is one of the best in this position, that's what we need to aim for and we'll strive for. So if you're paying 50 million to get someone through the door, surely you're going to go for the top quality, or just get a makeshift guy. And this is why I don't understand with the talent acquisition, because that one is a bad talent acquisition. You've seen him. Leicester fans were celebrating when he left. Very interesting. You know, whenever we sign a player, I go into the club Twitter, scroll down, and I look what the fans are saying. Because it's a good indicator, because people think Alonso's a good player and people think Rudiger's a good player. You ask Chelsea fans that watch the games and don't watch highlights, are they good players? And then you'll know the real answer. Like William's another one. Everyone thought William was world class.
Ask Arsenal now.
Literally. So for me, I think we need to keep it realistic with Ben Chilwell. I think you're right, man. We need to calm down about Ben Chilwell. I know that euphoria got to a level and we've all got excited. I think we just need to calm down. I hope he does well. I'm not praying that he stuffs. I hope he does well. He'll do well enough, if that makes sense. I don't think he's going to be, put it this way, he can't be your top 7 best players in the starting lineup. He'll have to be one of those players that, okay, you can replace him and still be just as effective. I don't think Ben Chilwell is that talented. But
No, you're right, man. I did notice that tweet from you the other day about Ben Chilwell. And you know what the funny thing was? There was a lot of Leicester fans off the back of that particular post from Squacker, I think, who put the comparison. And heaps of Leicester fans were saying, we already know this. We already know this. We robbed Chelsea. We absolutely robbed Chelsea. But anyway, look, that's for another day, Ben Chilwell. But let's continue on with this whole Frank Lampard discussion. Expectations, brother. Alexis, we've been given this particular dream of that 3-year plan. and I really want to talk about this now. That I want to understand what your perspective is of this 3 year. I thought year 1 last year was year 1, like it's just establishment. This is year 2. That they said that we're going to bridge the gap with the top dogs out there. We're going to be in the mix of challenging, not winning, challenging, and then year 3 we go out there and start winning, right? I don't know whether last season was season 0 or year 0. Now
No,
this is the first. I thought it was 1. Yeah, I thought it was 1 because no one gets season 0 at Chelsea. No one ever gets season 0.
No.
So you look at how Liverpool already, they're 9 points ahead. I know it's early days, but they just walloped Crystal Palace 7-0 with Salah in the bench. He came off the bench and just took over. Now, what's our expectation, Alexis, man? What are we striving for? Because I'm a bit lost now off the back of the 2 losses because, we've gone from so high to, like, as you said, you don't get points against West Ham, you could be 11.
I think we're striving for top 4, sadly, and it's not what I like. For me, points total is the important thing. Whilst finishes are whilst finishes are super important, and that's where how you generate money. I think points total is the true indicator of success. For example, we can't have another season where we lose 12 games. I just don't think it's acceptable. This is Chelsea. A win rate of 52% is not acceptable at Chelsea.
It's not acceptable. Yeah.
And if you want to naturally progress and develop and become a proper team, step 1, start winning games. Step 2, you bring the style in after. I don't see, bring the style in first and then start winning games. I'm not a believer of that. I think it is important that we win. At the start of the season, I said a cup and a convincing title challenge. So convincing third with at least 80 points. The way this season's going, we're projected to get 63 points based on the first 13 games.
Damn. Yeah.
63 points. And come on, man, 63 points at Chelsea? That's not getting top 4. Last year, we got lucky with the points total to get 4th.
Bro, this season top 4 is going to be tough, man. There's several teams vying for it, man.
And for example, I think Leicester are better than us at the moment. People aren't going to like to hear that. Southampton are a better coach team than us at the moment.
They look good.
Everton look like they're better than us at the moment, as an organized one. And the thing is, they shouldn't be. This is what pisses me off like ridiculously. They should not be. Look at the talent. Look at the array of talent. We've got the best midfield in the league. Like, we're spoiled for choices. But yeah,
absolutely right.
Something is not clicking, and it's really frustrating. Positives though, we're not far away from 4th, and we're not far away from stringing a group of results. Like I said before, I think it was the Spurs game. We've got 8 games now. Let's get 18 points.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
If you get 18 points, we're in a title race.
Yeah.
Bro, it's 3 games on, and I'm not gonna lie to you. We've got 1 point, and I'm heartbroken right now. Because I'm looking for 12 points, and now that is worrying. Like,
and West Ham, let's face it, man, Alexis, this ain't gonna be easy one bit. West Ham fans out there saying this is one of the best West Ham teams they've ever seen in ages. Like, they've not seen this caliber of talent in West Ham for a long time.
Antonio's back as well.
Oh, is he? I thought he's not.
I saw Antonio's going to be fit for the game because Antonio, like, he's basically worked. Look, whenever it says going to be fit, he's going to be fit, and he's going to start.
Be fit. Yeah,
and
you know how crucial Antonio is. The way we play, like, he stays up front. He's like the main man. Holds it up. Wingers start going, and then Yarmolenko, as you remember last season, what he did to Rudiger. But overall, let's wrap it up, Alexis, here, man. We've talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we acknowledge that Frank's done a lot of good stuff. But as you said, I think there comes a limitation to all of that, because after that, you need someone else to take over. But look, if he can show and he can start showing the traits that he's going to change and he's going to be proactive about in-game management and so on and so forth.
What is show, though? I always say this. People tell me, show. What is show? Because show has to be to get results. But I don't think we can go. I think it's not a surprise that last year we went on a little run, and then in December, February, we came
Same
back
boat.
crashing out.
Yeah.
I think that highlights the level of the manager. Because when the games come thick and fast and the players aren't fresh, you can't count on individual brilliance. You almost
So
have to,
true. So
you have
true.
to have a structure.
A
You have
plan.
to have principles inbuilt.
Yeah.
And whilst I think he's developing his principles, I don't hate Frank Lampard. I hate the fact he got the job so early. He would have been the ideal manager one day. One day is not after one playoff loss.
Alexis, look at Liverpool with the injuries they have in their backline. Do they look like they're struggling? They're running away with the league again.
It's inbuilt principle. The team's already built and ready to succeed. And for me, it's like once you get into a habit of doing stuff, the fundamentals come naturally.
True, true.
And I think that's with anything in life. You can't wake up 5 a.m, do it for a year. I promise you'll become second nature. Like
so true. So true.
Like force yourself to do it. Put yourself out of the comfort zone. The difficult thing is with the Frank Lampard, but we don't want to go through the growing pains. I don't, because I don't know how long this growing pains is. Like how long? And we spent 250 million. I said an interesting thing, and I got slaughtered for it again. Look, guys, I get slaughtered a lot. So if you want to see that, like, enjoy it, please be my guest. So, but how long until Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Hudson-Odoi ring their agent and say, you know what? Get in contact with Marina and tell or check and say, look, it's either us or Lampard, because he's playing us out of position or he's not playing us. And people said he's a legend. That can't happen. He's got more stock in the club than the players do. Let me tell you something. It's easier to sack one manager than replace 8 depreciated assets. Yeah, 8 depreciating assets. Marina's about checks and balances. Whether the price tag coming in is as big as the price tag when he's going out.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but if the players turn on him, bye-bye Frank, like every other manager. So he needs to be super careful, and this in-game management needs to be better, and squad management needs to be better. You need to rotate. Fools don't rotate. Yesterday, do you think it was easy to leave Salah on the bench for Klopp?
Nah, I thought he was going to start, man. I thought he was going to start.
I had him as captain in my fantasy team.
Oh, man, you killed it, though.
You know how annoyed I was? Like, for crying out loud, like, the positives about Frank are there to see, as in feel-good factor, Chelsea man. You can't say he doesn't love the club. He'll never down.
Well spoken.
He honestly, we're a corporate company. Can people calm down with it? We're a football club. We're a corporate company. We've got the perfect face of the company, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes I do feel like this year Frank let himself down when he spoke about the Black Lives Matters and Black Lives managers getting the opportunity. Black managers getting them. I think he let himself down there because he almost viewed it as an attack against him instead of talk about the whole picture.
Yeah.
But he's human, and in my opinion, it's hard to do these press conferences. He's not a politician, and do you understand what I mean? Like
true.
If someone puts you on the spot, you can't have an answer. I don't think he meant it in a bad way. I genuinely think.
Yeah.
Let's give him the benefit of doubt, in my opinion. So he's a perfect man to be at the face of the club. But are the internal issues still there?
Yeah. Like as you said, man, I mean, the feel-good factor, he cares about the club a lot, he loves the club a lot, all of that thing, uniting the fan base and whatnot, that's fantastic. At the end of the day, there's only that many seasons that we can go without winning stuff. And then you start sort of questioning, well, does he get
sacked? If we get top 4, does he get sacked, in your opinion?
Man, look, I think this season, my expectation, honestly, Alexis, let me elaborate this. I thought we'll get at least one of the cups. I thought we were going to get a cup last season because I thought our team was still good enough to be against all the other ones, even though we were in a transfer ban. I just thought that we had the quality, we had the players that have won Premier League before. Do you know what I mean? So I thought we were good enough to win something last season as well. We came close in the FA Cup. We didn't win it. This season, honestly, Alexis, my expectation was a top 4. is a natural. That's not even like, let's not even talk about that. Like top four is a natural thing. I thought we are going to be bridging the gap between Liverpool and City a lot. Like I thought we're not probably there yet to win the league, but we're not going to be 30 points behind Liverpool either. We're going to be within the 10-point margin, which means we are competitive, which means that next season we go out and win it. But these guys are flying out. Liverpool are already 9 points ahead. Like, do you know what I mean? Man United with a game in hand is ahead of us. And we're slandering their manager. We are now up against West Ham, one of the best West Ham team touted by their supporters. And we're coming off the back of 2 losses and facing these guys. And we're literally in the mercy. A lot of the fans will tell you, we are worried against West Ham in this match.
I'm petrified.
Do you know what I mean?
Petrified.
I don't like this. Like, this is not what I expected this season. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not what I expected. And we need to change this very quickly, because where I was thinking where we were going to be, later down this season. And as you know, Alexis, if we drop points against West Ham, we've got Arsenal, and us being how we are, the charity club that we are, we're probably going to let some points off for those guys who can't even get any points. Do you know what I mean? So, look, I don't know, man. It all comes down to if he gets top 4, but he just scrapes it in. I don't know if that's good enough, man. I really don't know if that's going to be good enough or to cut it, because, what does that mean next season? Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, enough about all of that, Alexis. Any final thoughts before we close this off?
Yeah, man. Like I said, next 6 games are key. I think West Ham. I think it's West Ham, Leicester, Fulham, City, and Arsenal. We need
huge.
I think it will define our season, and hopefully, man, I hope I'm wrong about everything I say. Like, I literally hope I am.
Honestly, as a fan, we hope we're wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm literally begging for the club to like get back to where we were. Because we're in a place right now where it's a transition, it's a wilderness for us fans. And this is for all the senior fans that have been going for 30, 50 years. Yeah. And always say to me, you know what would you do if you were a Chelsea fan in the 80s? I'd say, well, you know what, I would have become immune to it. Like, I would have learned how to deal with it. I'm sorry, I'm 24 years old. I'm sorry, when I started watching football in 2003,
Chelsea was on the up.
Chelsea was on the up. I'm sorry. But now I have a certain quality of life I expect. Okay? I expect my team to win on a weekend, most weekends. I don't want to ruin my weekend on a weekly basis by watching this team play. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw we playing on a Monday. A part of me was happy.
We're not going to lose points this weekend.
I was like, maybe I don't need to make a video this weekend and rant. Like, I don't need to be angry this weekend.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating, like, but you love it, and we will do. We have different opinions, but listen, this is our drugs. Like,
exactly right. And you're right, man. I mean, it's not our fault. Chelsea created the standard from early 2000s till now. So, it's hard to go back to previous days. Like, I can't even imagine those previous days. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Alexis, thank you so much, my man. We got a lot out of it. Hopefully everyone that's tuned in and commented, that you understood the context of it. And just for a second, forget about the banter and all of that. Just understand different perspective. It's very important that we understand as a fan base different perspective and what people are saying, as opposed to just going out there and attacking people, and sometimes control that passion a little bit and just understand stuff. So guys, thank you so much. And please subscribe to my man Alexis YouTube channel. I'll have all of that information in the description. Honestly, if you want something different, you got a lot of YouTubers out there who probably sing the same thing. Alexis is someone who brings something different to the plate, different flavor. Please give his show a chance. But yeah, until next time, everyone. See ya.